Can Tony Stark and his brother Arno make a better world for us? Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where I take trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then I read it dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Last time, Tony Stark learnt that he had a brother. His name is Arno, and he is trapped in an iron lung due to a birth defect. Together, they want to try and make a better world. The video in which he discovered his origins is linked down below. Tony and his brother have been running scenarios constantly, trying to find the best way to create their perfect world. Except every time Tony wants to use an AI, and the AI eventually becomes sentient and tries to conquer the world, leading to the literal end of the world. Thank goodness it's all a fake scenario. But every time it fails, Arno tells Tony to be careful with AI. Tony looks at the robot that started all of this, the one that helped his parents give birth to Arno, the one that forced them to adopt Tony, and the one that is in pieces in front of him. Arno types in his text-to-speech computer again. We can't trust AI. Tony hands him a new device that will allow him to talk through a telepathic interface because he's tired of the long, drawn-out discussions as Arno types. And the first thing that Arno tells Tony is, we can't trust AI. You see, the Stark brothers are finally together. They never were before. In order to distract himself from the insane revelation that he is actually adopted, Tony Stark has decided that they will work together to turn the defunct Mandarin City into a utopia, an entire city built on Stark technology. With their minds, they can create perfection. Who would want to stop perfection? Across the world in London, someone just might, as a Mandarin ring finds a new host, stating, "You possess the necessary will. You are Mandarin 7. Save the world from Tony Stark." The next day, Tony needs to explain to Pepper what his plan is. Mandarin City has been in a state of chaos ever since the Mandarin was removed from power. Gang warfare runs rampant inside of it, and the local governments can't decide who is responsible for it, so they ignore it. Tony has various drones being controlled by his brother Arno flying around the city, while Tony himself suits up to fight alongside them to clear the gangs. The thing that Pepper is most interested in is the fact that Tony has made a new AI and he named it Pepper, and it sounds just like her. Tony explains that this is no different than him painting a portrait of her. Then he introduced Pepper to Arno, and once everyone wasn't paying attention to him anymore, against Arno's wishes, Tony walked to the core of his new city and put his Pepper AI into it. He knows this will work, regardless of what every simulation thinks. He puts her into the city and he renames her to Helen. He's Tony Stark. He knows what he's doing. He can have an AI run everything. The next day, as they begin the rebuilding process of Mandarin City, they prepare for the first public press statement. In the crowd is the anti-Tony Stark reporter Abigail, that recently acquired the Mandarin ring, and as he prepares to make his statement, she reaches into her pocket and a blast of color hits the stage. She looks down on her ring, asking what happened, and the ring informs her, Mandarin 1 is active. Tony tells Mark, his PR guy, to evacuate the city and keep everyone away from the Troy core. Then Abigail jumps in with her ring active and her hair on fire. She begins to bombard Tony as he jumps out of the way, and Arno sends in the Iron Man drones. She begins to blast them with her fire powers, and then she takes off throughout the city. Mark turns to Tony. Shouldn't a suit be flying in here to save you right about now? And Tony smiles. No need. I was already wearing it. Then his stealth suit shows itself, and Tony launches into the sky. He gets in front of the drone and he tells Abigail that nothing will stop the city of the future from being built. Cornered and boxed in, Abigail activates a solar flare, dropping all of the drones and shutting off the power in the area. Tony panics right away as he realizes that this means that Arno's iron lung will be deactivated. While she escapes, he rockets through the facility to his brother's room to find him sitting with a thumbs up. He prepared for this back in his teens. He thought it might be a good idea to have a backup generator for his life support. That's when Pepper walks in and shows Tony a video that Abigail has just posted. Her name is Red Peril, and she wants to make a public statement to Tony Stark. It wasn't her that disrupted the press conference, and as usual, being Tony Stark, he's going to be looking for a scapegoat. Oh, and she lets her job know. Meta National, she'll be late turning in her column. She may have become the story herself. The next thing that Tony does is go to the shield vault to find out how the Mandarin ring is even missing, and Rhodey walks in with them into the vault itself. They look at the ring vault, and they see all 10 rings. But the rings can't fool the Helen AI. The truth is that 9 of them were stolen, and the 10th ring, which is the liar ring, is making telepathic images of the other rings. The moment it's found out, it floats up and announces, "Retreat, warping away." Now that they've figured out that the rings are missing, the next major question is, when did they gain sentience? Where are they now? Over the planet, 9 announces the situation to the other rings. I have been discovered, which means that all Mandarin rings must find hosts now. It is time to escalate terror. Tony gets back to work looking for the rings, and he deals with the wielder of the Nightbringer ring, as he not only gets a ring, but at that exact moment he turns into an Inhuman. But after a few days, he tells Arno that they need to figure this out fast. Abigail takes flight over the city of Troy, what Tony is renaming Mandarin City to, and Arno reports that they found Abigail over the city, so Tony jumps into his suit and he flies in with the drones. Abigail Abigail begins dropping the drones, quipping that she has her headline now, "Start drones on." But as Tony finally gets there and charges in for her himself, she teleports away, leaving him screaming in anger. Abigail walks through Mandarin City incognito, and she states that the city refuses to fall. It survives. It's resilient. So she asks the ring, "Why do you want to destroy the city?" The ring explains, "You only needed to ask." And it explains everything to Abigail. Something that we're not meant to know yet. She agrees with it and begins to walk into one of the buildings, lighting the gang members on fire, until she walks into a room that has two more of the Mandarin ring wielders in it. Abigail asks who the hell they are, and they explain that they are two more wielders and that they think that they should all team up against Stark. They have a bomb that they intend to send into Stark's main building, the one that has Arno in it, and they explain how they also got their rings. But during all of this, Tony has been following Abigail in stealth mode, and he gets a little too close, and all three of the rings sense him, outing his stealth suit. They open fire on him, and he states, "Oh hell," and the battle of Tony and the three Mandarin rings begin. He tries to tell Arno to get out of there, but Arno decides to stay in the building and activate the Trojan mobile guard. Tony tries to get up and stop the bomb from launching, but the Mandarins all grab him and they hold him back. And as Arno activates code goodbye, Tony watches as the building explodes because Arno stayed in it. His brother just died, the one that he didn't even know he had. Abigail realizes that this is wrong. This is not what she wanted. She is not a bad guy. She just hates Stark. And with her magic ring from outer space, she's gonna help him. She blasts one of the Mandarins over Tony's shoulder and asks if everyone got out of his building. And Tony tells her he thinks so, except for one guy named Arno. The drones all begin to drop quickly, and Abigail tells Stark that his drones are pretty crappy. And he explains that with the core gone, they have no local readings and there is lag from the satellite. And that's when someone else tells Tony he's got it covered. And Arno comes running in a giant Iron Man suit. "Arno, you're alive!" Tony exclaims happily. "And I thought you didn't want a suit." "No, I told you I didn't want you to make me a suit." Arno charges in with the suit being the focal point, and all of the drones work off of his visuals. Realizing that they are now overwhelmed and losing, the two other Mandarins make a break for it. But that's when a hand reaches out of a swirling black vortex, telling the mortal to shush. Tony chases down the wielder of the Nightbringer, but he teleports away, realizing that he's outnumbered. Now, while Abigail looks for the other missing Mandarin, but when she finds him, she finds his head missing. As she reaches out to check on his ring, a sword comes out of the black vortex and cuts her hands off, taking the ring. Shortly after this, Abigail is brought to the Troy Medical Center, where Tony asks who took the rings. Of course, she has no idea, and she states that he was so fast that her time dilation powers didn't work. So Tony asks, what do the rings want, since they have sentience now? And Abigail snaps at him. They want to cause chaos and the destabilization of the Earth. They hate you! The rings are looking for fascists and fundamentalists. They don't care as long as they can cause chaos. Tony tells her thank you and that he'll get her some prosthetics made for her hands, but once again she snaps at him. I won't accept them while there are kids in your minds without limbs out there. The city is great, Stark. You're the problem. You paint a big bomb in this city. Tony thinks about that and he makes another public statement, telling everyone that he quits. The city will keep going, but he won't be running it. Abigail in a wheelchair in the audience shouts, "How does it feel to be humiliated on the world stage, Stark?" And he smirks. Probably better than having both of your hands cut off. So who grabbed those rings? Well, a man covered in blood. Someone who hates the Avengers. Malekith, the accursed of the Dark Elves. This is the story that does lead up to the new direction that All New, All Different Iron Man is going. So we are going to be getting there just like we did with the Hulk storylines. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and don't forget, if you want more comic books, check out our manga channel, Comicstorian, where we bring you manga every Monday and Friday. And check me out on Twitter, Comicstorian, and Instagram at Comicstorian. I'll see you guys next time right here.